Gamers, what are the funniest things you heard over open mic? Story 1. Last week I was immersed in a GTA Online heist with a group of players, and there was this kid among us. During one of the setup missions, his mom barged into the room, giving him an earful about playing games non-stop. He tried to reason with her, promising to quit after finishing an online mission. We completed the setup and geared up for the finale. Someone asked if the kid needed to log off, and he replied with a clever, "Nah, I'll just tell her it's still the same mission." Midway through the finale, static crackled over the mic, followed by what sounded like a struggle. We heard him pleading desperately.
"No, please don't. Don't turn it off. You can't do this. There are other players and I can't quit. It will end their game too."
In a stern and furious mom voice that cared little about our game, we heard her say,
"Your dad is in jail because of you. We're going to lose our house because of you."
There was a moment of silence, and then he abruptly logged off. A few minutes later, he rejoined the party chat and explained,
"Sorry guys, we're having family problems, and my mom gets like that. She's a salty woman."
Here's another story about mischievous kids. It might not be creepy, but it's amusing. I was in a CSGO match, and one kid on my team yelled a modified, "Ha! Take that!" after getting a kill. Suddenly, our entire team heard him screaming, crying, and begging for forgiveness from his mother for shouting so loudly. She threatened him with jumper cables if he called her a certain word again. Then there's the tale of a friend during a break in a 25-man raid in World of Warcraft. His mic activated, and his character made a beeline for the boss. All we heard was him shouting,
"Fluffy, no!"
Fluffy, it turned out, was his cat. We all knew where she had chosen to sit. We wiped out as most of us were away from the keyboard. Not strange, I know, but it was a memorable moment from the BC days. In another instance, a kid didn't want to drop out of an intense Uno game, so he decided to multitask and take care of business in the bathroom while still playing live. Uno games can get pretty heated. And finally, in League of Legends, while chatting with some guys over TeamSpeak, one player said he'd be right back but forgot to mute his mic. Out of nowhere, we overheard a massive fight between him and his dad. As the argument neared its end, we heard the dad exclaim, "And why does your room smell awfully bad?" To which the kid replied,
"'Cause I do number 2 in it."
Needless to say, that dude hasn't been back on that TeamSpeak server since. Story 2. So I had this experience from his World of Warcraft raids that still cracks me up. We were knee-deep in a raid at the Black Temple, battling away like there's no tomorrow. But out of nowhere, the raid leader's wife decided to take up some DIY and started screaming her heart out while we were in the heat of the raid. The husband couldn't believe it. So he whipped off his headset just as her screams were dying down. It was a bizarre moment, and let me tell you, our guild was one of a kind. But the weirdness didn't stop there. In the days of the Wrath of the Lich King, we were in the middle of a hair-raising battle with Sartharion and his 3 drakes. The tension was thick as molasses, and then out of the blue, one of our mages yelled,
"AFK, mom on fire!"
Talk about the unexpected. Someone in the raid couldn't resist the urge to crack a joke, shouting,
"God damn it, mom, don't stand in the fire. This is why we never bring you to raids."
Little did we know this time it wasn't just a gaming metaphor. Nope, turns out the mage's mom had actually caught on fire while cooking. Total chaos ensued, and the mage had to rush his mom to the emergency room. Gaming is fun until someone's mom accidentally gets caught in pyroblast. Just a friendly reminder, folks, in both gaming and life, it's crucial to steer clear of the fire. Or learn that resist fire spell and equip yourself with some fire-resistant equipment, whether it's in a dungeon or the kitchen. Story 3. Several years ago, I was in a 40-person raid in World of Warcraft. Now, most of us in the guild were Californians, and I was living in Oakland at the time. Suddenly, this dude around Napa goes, "Whoa!" And just a few seconds later, we were hit by a decent earthquake. So I piped up over a vent to let everyone know. A few seconds later, some folks around San Jose joined the earthquake party. It was kind of epic, hearing the quake ripple south in real time like we're in some sort of earthquake raid. Similarly, my other gaming bud and his crew were just chilling, all residing in South Carolina. A few months back, there was this tiny earthquake, nothing to write home about, but it shook my friend's desk like a dragon just landed and made water splash all over. The quake hit each of them a few seconds apart while they were gaming. Hearing your game buddies react to something you've experienced just seconds ago is scary and amazing at the same time.
Shh, here's a little secret for you. This video is sponsored by none other than me and my team at Rufus Rugs. We're the masters of creating custom, hand-tufted rugs that capture who you truly are. Whether you want to transform one of our intriguing thumbnails into a rug, for a friend, obviously, or you're craving a room makeover with awesome anime-inspired designs, we've got your back. Oh, and did I mention, each and every rug is skillfully handcrafted by me and my friends. No BS dropshipping gimmick here. You'll be blown away by your rug. Hit the first link in the description to learn more.
Story 4. I was playing Dawn of War on TeamSpeak when there was this guy who entered into a loud and heated argument, accusing his wife of having an illicit affair just because she walked in the door at midnight. We were on the verge of kicking him from the channel, but we didn't because the lovers' quarrel got really juicy. It went from heated to scary. Then it took a sad turn. I began to suspect that he was just using the game as a distraction from the tough time he was going through. This awkward eavesdropping moment happened to me again, but this time I was on the other end, unintentionally broadcasting an overheard argument. One night I came home from work, ready to join my partner in streaming Just Dance on Twitch. I changed and entered our game room. When he saw me, he said he was livid because he couldn't sign into PSN. He took a comment I made the wrong way and the argument began. Then, out of the blue, he switched his mic back on while he was already shouting at me. So I retreated and hid in another room. Clearly, the viewers and the people in the party chat were able to hear him yelling at me, using hurtful words. After repeatedly asking him to calm down, I decided it was best to leave the house to prevent the situation from escalating. His anger grew as I tried to leave, and from what I was told later, my screams were heard over the broadcast. I managed to send my address and a plea for someone to call the police into the chat, which someone from a different continent did. I eventually got out and my neighbors also called the police. I never found out how much was heard by those watching or listening, but the few messages I received were enough to confirm they heard me screaming. I feel sorry for those people who had to listen to that and couldn't do anything. I can only imagine how I would feel in a similar situation. Perhaps open mics are just prone to accidentally overhearing a lover's quarrel. Another story was about a guy friend of mine who was playing Call of Duty a few years back when he heard a woman launching a vicious rant toward her husband, who happened to be on our team. Ding Dong was humiliated, mothers were berated, and infidelity was confessed. But the husband just kept playing. Maybe COD was his safe place. Also, I know another guy who was in a serious broken long-term relationship. He played World of Warcraft as an escape from reality. Story 5. A few years back, I found myself in a Rift guild that had some of the quirkiest hicks from the California desert. There was this couple who lived up in the hills outside San Diego, on a sprawling piece of land with their kids and even the guy's parents. No, don't get me wrong. They were actually pretty decent players. He in particular was a rock-solid tank. But boy, did they have a knack for interrupting our raids for the wildest reasons. One week, it was their kid with a broken arm, and the next, it was the in-law's roof catching fire. The frequency and variety of these incidents were enough to make the rest of us engage in wild speculations about what kind of living situation these folks were in. But you know what takes the cake? The best time they interrupted the raid? Guys, we gotta take a 20-minute break. The kangaroo's loose again. Yes, you heard that right. A kangaroo. Loose. In California. Now that's a game interruption you don't hear every day, right? Story 6. Back during the golden days of Modern Warfare 2, I found myself in a lobby that was a bit of a mix. On one side, there were a bunch of Brits all teamed up, and on the other side, my team consisted of random Americans. It was a curious alignment of the gaming stars, and someone on our side couldn't help but comment, "Oh hey, it's funny how that happened." But oh boy, one of the British players wasn't having any of it. They fired back with a sharp, "Shut up, you fat American pig." Just like that, it was game on. It felt like the American Revolution Part 2, Freedom Rings twice. To give them credit, the game was neck and neck, but the desire to win was burning hotter than ever. We transformed into a well-oiled machine and started dominating the gameplay. As the match neared its final 10 seconds, victory was imminent, and we began chanting, "USA! USA! USA!" relentlessly. They tried to argue, but our chants drowned them out, and eventually, they had to leave the lobby. I've never had an experience quite like that again, but man, it was something else. Story 7. There was this incident where a kid, who seemed to be quite overweight, got into a heated argument with his mother that lasted for a good half an hour. The cause of this intense debate? His insatiable craving for a Taco Bell chalupa. He displayed quite an arrogant and disrespectful attitude towards his mother, using profanity and revealing a pattern of manipulating his seemingly passive parents. The story may start a bit slowly, but it escalates in an entertaining way as time goes on. It's a rather amusing tale, and even though it's not my own experience, I'm grateful that someone shared it on YouTube. Then there's this other guy I know who hopped on the microphone while his friend was gaming and declared, "All right, it's time to inject some culture into you illiterate folks," before launching into a live reading of the brothers Karamazov. These incidents certainly add an unexpected twist to the world of gaming and open mic sessions. Story 8. I've actually witnessed someone on my team break up with their girlfriend during a game of Defense of the Ancients on voice chat. He activated his mic in the game and she immediately chimed in with that horrible entitled tone, saying, "Get off that stupid game and take me out to dinner." This went on for about 10 minutes, with him trying to remain calm and explaining, "It's okay, baby, just let me finish this game. If I leave now, I'll get penalized." But she just couldn't grasp it. The entitled girlfriend even resorted to an ultimatum, saying, "If you don't turn that game off right now and take me to dinner, I'm leaving." Our teammate typed in the chat, types, "Pause, please. Need to break up with my girlfriend." And everyone burst into laughter. We paused the game and the guy unleashed a torrent of words in open mic saying, "This is my apartment. You're here on my dime. I buy all your food. I give you money to shop. You don't get to issue ultimatums when you're dependent on me. Get out of my apartment. This relationship is over." It was followed by a lot of her crying, yelling, and dredging up past mistakes as if that would somehow save the relationship. Eventually, he bluntly stated, "Sorry, the relationship is over. I don't care anymore. Bring a truck and one of your bar guys to come get your stuff tomorrow. Let's see if any of them will clothe, feed, house you, and sleep with you. At that point, everyone in voice chat collectively exclaimed, "Ooh!" and we gleefully typed the unfolding drama to the enemy team. Just imagine the awkward pause in the midst of the yelling as those "ooh" reactions filled the airwaves. He did manage to get her out of the apartment, and it sounded like a world of pressure was lifted off his shoulders. After the game, I friended him, and we still chat on Steam from time to time. He successfully ended that relationship, and when she didn't retrieve her stuff for a week, he stashed it all in a storage locker. Now he's with a new girlfriend who apparently isn't as difficult to deal with. Let's give a slow round of applause for this chat here. He really had a good way of saying, "Bye, Felicia," in mid-game. That's a decision that's not only hilarious, but also pretty cool to hear on open mic. He basically pawned his salty girlfriend, and I'm sure it was a good game for his team and the enemy side. Hey, if you don't want to be a noob like that entitled girlfriend, go and give us a like and subscribe to our channel to follow more funny stories. Now let's resume and let other gamers spill the tea. Story 9. I once had an unexpected encounter with an older lady who found my voice oddly attractive. She made an unusual request, asking me to recite the alphabet slowly while uttering suggestive sounds like, yes, read me the alphabet, you fine man." It was definitely a bizarre experience. Was it because teachers need a bit of excitement in their lives? Or maybe I unwittingly possess a bedroom voice. I still can't quite figure it out. Then a friend of mine who's also a gamer shared his own strange experience while gaming. He overheard a player saying, "Push the objective like you're delivering a baby. Just get that thing out of there." It seems he frequently ends up playing with some rather unique individuals. Strange. Just strange. Story 10. I would describe this experience as strange because it's unlike anything I've encountered before or since. I was immersed in an 8v8 match in Halo 3, still relatively new to the world of online gaming but thoroughly enjoying it. I queued up for a match and found myself in the lobby just before the game was about to start. If I recall correctly, we had the opportunity to vote in the match type and map we wanted to play on. As we were making our choices, something unexpected happened. One of the players started a beat and then another person joined in, syncing perfectly. I recognized the beat. It was "We Will Rock You" by Queen. Suddenly, one of the guys started singing it, and then another player chimed in with the next verse. The impromptu performance continued. I even joined in the fun. Once the song was over, it was as if nothing out of the ordinary had occurred, and the normal chat resumed. It was a pretty cool moment, and I've never witnessed anything like it since. I did try to initiate something similar once or twice, but let's say I ended up making a bit of a fool of myself. That song is a classic bop. Who would have thought that jamming out to a tune could enhance teamwork in a game? I'm sure they totally rocked it there. And don't worry, who knows? Some of you might stumble upon another match where someone initiates some lobby karaoke with "Another One Bites the Dust." Story 11. There was this one time when I was playing Grand Theft Auto 5 and things took an unexpected turn. The kid I was in the game with suddenly had a visitor, his dad. The dad came into the room and told the kid to go to his own room. However, the kid was not having it and refused to budge. That's when things got loud, and his dad started raising his voice, insisting that he should leave. After a brief argument, the dad reluctantly said, "Fine, you don't have to leave." Then to my astonishment, he cried out, "Honey, he's not gonna leave." As if that wasn't strange enough, shortly after, I started hearing some unmistakable noises in the background, the kind that you'd expect to hear from a couple in their moment. It dawned on me that the kid had been playing inside his parents' room all along. At first, I couldn't help but chuckle at the absurdity of the situation, but my laughter quickly turned into disbelief when I heard, "What are you looking at? Just play your game. Come on, honey." That's when I decided to mute the video, realizing that the poor gamer kid would rather endure this peculiar situation than quit GTA 5. I couldn't help but wonder why the parents didn't just unplug the game console. It seemed like the most straightforward solution to the awkwardness. So I decided to switch to another game, Black Ops this time, hoping for a more normal experience. But almost immediately I heard a rather bizarre statement. The flesh was raw pink. Intrigued, I couldn't resist asking, "What flesh?" However, I received a curt and somewhat eerie response. "None of your business." It was an encounter that left me so perplexed that I haven't touched Black Ops since that game. Sometimes, you just stumble upon moments in the gaming world that are better left unexplored. Story 12. I found myself in a co-op mission, playing a World War II flight sim with about 16 of us in the game. Everything seemed pretty standard as we cruised along on our way to the target area. That was until one guy, who appeared to be pretty wasted, entered the scene. Out of nowhere, the unmistakable sound of snoring filled our comms. I couldn't help but imagine his virtual plane slowly losing altitude, gradually tilting as he began to snore away. Panic ensued as some of the guys started yelling, "Wake up!" But their desperate pleas seemed to fall on deaf ears. Then the unexpected happened. Over the comms, we heard a loud crashing and rattling sound, followed by a colorful exclamation. "Oh, son of a... I'm bleeding!" It turned out that our intoxicated comrade had passed out and, in the process, hit his head on the floor. Surprisingly, his plane in the game remained surprisingly steady. It was drifting away but not losing much altitude. However, what we couldn't maintain was our composure. We all burst into uncontrollable laughter, unable to finish the mission due to our fits of mirth. That co-pilot must have knocked back a few too many drinks during his R&R. I just hope he didn't end up needing stitches after the crash. But kidding aside, playing games while drunk is definitely not advisable. Story 13. My girlfriend used to be an avid WoW player, often participating in raids with her guild. One day during a break from the game, she found herself playing with her dog and engaging in baby talk with her furry friend. What she didn't realize was that her microphone was still live, and her entire guild was treated to this unexpected canine conversation. They decided to keep quiet and even recorded the amusing interaction, which ended up on the guild's website for a good laugh. On a different gaming adventure, I was playing Halo 3 with my brother when we encountered a player on the opposing team who had an astonishing 1 kill to 18 deaths ratio, or something similarly lopsided. This player was running around, occasionally shooting but mostly missing their targets and meeting an untimely demise. After the game concluded, we found ourselves in the post-game lobby, where one person from the opposing team started hurling profanities at the 118 player. Amidst the verbal exchange, a strange rustling noise caught our attention, followed by a rather groggy-sounding, It turned out that the 118 player had dozed off in the lobby and was just waking up. The other guy couldn't believe it and exclaimed, "Dude, what the heck? How did you die 18 times and only get 1 kill?" The sleepy player responded with a half-hearted excuse. "Sorry, dude, I fell asleep in the lobby." To this, the other guy retorted, "But you were moving around." And then the feeder guy delivered the punchline, "Well, it's only me and my cat here." So that experience left us wondering whether our cat could indeed be responsible for such a dire performance in Halo, or if one of us had met their virtual demise at the paws of a cat. Story 14. My raid group was quite diverse, with members hailing from various corners of the world. There were 2 guys from the Bronx, including myself, another from the UK, and a few from Norway, Finland, and one from Ukraine. We were relatively new to the game and hadn't yet managed to defeat the final boss of a particularly challenging raid, but we were getting closer with each attempt. One of the Bronx players, though, had a constant issue with lag. Despite the technical challenges, we never considered kicking him from the group. Instead, he came up with something truly unique. As soon as the raid began, he started doing a live freestyle rap, describing what each of us was doing in the raid as if it were a commentary. It was an unexpected and amazing performance, and I couldn't help but wish we had recording software back then to capture this creative moment. In another instance, there was a player from a country that was currently in the midst of a war. He joined our TeamSpeak server one day and casually dropped the bombshell. "War has broken out. I won't be able to make it for the raid." His tone was surprisingly nonchalant, as if saying, "Oh, by the way, I live in a war zone, so I probably won't be online for a while." After delivering this shocking news, he laughed, signed out, and repeated the same message in-game to the guild members who weren't on TeamSpeak. Naturally, we were concerned for his safety and well-being for several weeks. However, eventually he managed to contact one of us through our forum to let us know that he and his family had relocated to a safer city while the situation in his country calmed down. We couldn't wait for him to return to the game because, despite the challenges he faced, his DPS was undeniably impressive. Story 15. I'm 35 years old, and a few years back I was playing Call of Duty. In the lobby, there was a group of kids who were quite vocal, mouthing off and generally being the way kids sometimes are in online games. I decided to take it in stride and be a good sport about it since, after all, they were just kids. As the game progressed, I found myself on the receiving end of a thorough fight, which was a pretty typical outcome for me. After enduring a particularly brutal loss, I was sitting in the lobby, nursing my wounded pride, when one of the kids piped up. "Hey, Beacons 56, do you like dragons?" I responded cautiously. Yeah, I guess." "That's good, because I was dragging my nuts across your face the entire game." If you like these bunch of stories about gamers eavesdropping on strange teas, then go watch What's Something That You Will Never Share With Your Parents. Story 8 is straight fire. Hope to see you there.